Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the World Class Championship Wrestling Review Series. We are about 2.5 years, let's see, yeah, that's about right, into our journey, into the summer of 1986. We are fast approaching actually past the halfway mark in the month of June 16th specifically, on this particular episodic edition, and they they do some highlights of the Rock and Soul Express, which is Buck Zumhoff and Iceman Parsons versus the Destroyers. This leads to the unmasking of the Super Destroyers. Not a terrible fan of that, am I, although it does give them new life and is the right thing to do for talents that are not doing well or have run their course. In the end of this, we go to Skandar Akbar. Akbar talks about how this is the Irwin's Bill. Wild Bill, of course, we saw in '82 with the Texas Championship for quite a while, and his brother Scott Hogg Irwin. It appears that Akbar going to keep them without the masks and keep them on as talents, so the masks don't matter too much to him. We then go for the first of a series of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the segment, singles or 3 singles matches this week and a Kerry Von Erich interview. Anyway, Killer Khan with Bam Bam Gordy, so they are still aligned, facing perennial enhancement talent throughout the South and Southwest and Southeast, for that matter, so just South in general. Pat Rose. Rose not intended to do anything other than be fodder for Killer Khan here. Khan obviously much larger, much more direct, and I'd even say a little more mean, a little more aggressive than his adversary. Chokes and the like. This is not meant to be a challenge for Khan. Khan doesn't get challenged for what I'm going to guess is several more months. I have yet to see him get truly challenged, and I'm up to the end of October, so they're trying to build him as maybe a next challenger to the Von Erichs or something of that nature. He does not let his opponent get back to his feet very often. When he does, it's to pull him up and put him back down. So he is very clear that he wants to cause trouble. Backbreaker by Khan. Khan also goes to the middle rope on the inside, hits a diving knee drop, and he is done with his match for the day. We move then to Gino Hernandez against Rick Hazard. Rick Hazard eventually becomes a world-class referee. I'm at least 99% sure of this, but here he is a wrestler. It is the various championship exploits of Gino Hernandez. Hernandez does throw that Hazard to the outside, although we do hear that he has lost the championship thus far. He seems to be stepping into feuds that other people would step into. I don't know if Jimmy Garvin's on his way out here, but after a month or two here, we don't see him very much anymore. And Gino, not well explained on TV, but gets launched into his own feud with Stella Mae French. That doesn't happen quite yet, but that's coming. So announcers are a little lackluster here in terms of getting those larger angles over. Hazard does hit quite a few offensive maneuvers on Gino. Gino being a former champion, I don't particularly like the fact that he's in there with an unknown enhancement guy and not being as dominant as one would imagine him to be. But Gino does eventually get the victory. Contributing factor to that is a leaping elbow, 1, 2, and 3 out the back door. Hazard does not come. We then, and as of this moment, uh, the still American champion Gino Hernandez in there. He has not lost it yet, but that loss is forthcoming sooner than we think. They do change the belt a little bit too much for my liking in world class upon occasion. It seems like they always have one belt that hasn't been changed in a while, and then one belt changes too often. Kerry Von Erich up next. He's apologizing for losing the World Heavyweight Championship back to Ric Flair in Japan. There's many excuses made on Kerry's behalf. That is to be expected. And, whatever has it. The Michael Hayes and friends, basically, against the Von Erichs. The Von Erichs, and so it's basically Von Erichs and Freebirds again in a six-man style matchup. Roberts, Hayes, and Gordy against Kevin, Mike, and Kerry. I mean, how many times can we see this before it gets too old? I get that they were built around the guys, but at this point, it's starting to get a little tight. Roberts and Mike seem to do the most damage. We do see Kevin in there more so than average. Kevin starts out with Buddy Roberts, stays on him for a while. Actually, I believe this to be a tag team match, although starts like all three guys are going to be in there. Mike, you can notice, tends to not do as well with the larger guys. Still extremely thin. Mike, for his experience level, though, is super aggressive. But you put him in there with Gordy, and unless he's hitting a drop kick or another high impact, high flying move when he's in close, him with a guy like Gordy just doesn't necessarily work for me. I realize it's only his first at most into second year, but dang, you just don't want to go there. Obviously, the Von Erich name has the most cachet in Texas, and they're going to do whatever they need to do to get that going in their direction. Switch off to Gordy, and Gordy uses power and finesse to get advantages. Mike can handle when Roberts is in the ring, not so much when Gordy's in there. Hayes on the outside as the manager. It's just confusing because the Freebird rule does lead to, confusion because of the variant in who's in the ring, who's not in the ring, that sort of thing. Mike takes more than his fair share of punishment during the mid portion of this particular matchup, and that leads to, everybody brawling, including Kerry and Michael Hayes making their way in. Really a non-finish here as we close another week of World Class. We'll be back with more right after this.